learn from my old ways of doing things new. I hate what I love, but I'm trying, man, it's true. I'm fighting every day in my mind through and through, please.
What is good? I am your host, John Legacy J. This is the Breaking Point. Today, this episode, we're going to talk about you going hard for you. You going hard for you. Because a lot of times people go hard for other people because they're hoping that people will reciprocate that same love, that same dedication, that same help back. And going through life, what I realize is, no one's going to go hard for you as much as you can. And it's not to be selfish, because some people think, well, that's just selfish. I'm not saying don't help anybody out. I'm not saying don't, give. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, a lot of these people who are pulling from you are prioritizing themselves. And when it's time for you, when you need that help, or you need that, as someone say, blessing, or you need that assistance, you'll realize they're nowhere to be found. They've already pulled from you. You have to realize some people in your life, they will just pull from you until you're empty. And then they'll go to the next person and pull from them. So you have to be able to recognize who those people are sometimes, so that you don't get drained. And it can affect your heart, because you'll get to a point where you're like, I'm not helping nobody. I do this for everybody and nobody's ever there for me. Forget everybody. I'm doing me. And you don't want to get there. So it's a healthy balance you got to get to. But at the end of the day, you have to go hard for yourself, and you have to know that you're worth it. For real. Like, you have to know that you're worth it. Like, doing things just to make other people happy is not the move. Like, everything we do should be for, what's the best way for me to say this? For instance, like, if you're working out and you're working out just so you can get somebody or to get somebody's attention, it's the wrong reason. Like, you should be going hard for you, for your workout goals, for your body goals, for your health goals. You should be doing it for you. And when it comes to, like, you getting certain things in life, a house, car, whatever, it's not so you can just say, well, look, I'm better than this person. No, you should be doing it to enhance your life. Stop looking at everybody else. We live in a generation now where people are just really codependent on people, their validation, their help. And I don't know. I know everybody, because I want to stay away from, like, generalizing, like, why everyone does this. But I do know that it comes a point where we have to do the hard thing. And sometimes the hard thing is looking in the mirror and saying, man, I really need to do something. I really need to work on me. I really need to focus on me and stop focusing on others. Um, you can't love people the way you would like to be loved, thinking that it's going to come back to you. It doesn't work that way. If you're doing this IOU system, like, I'm doing this so they owe me, you'll always end up disappointed, because when you do things for people, they're not looking at it as they owe you unless you specify that. And if you have this hidden, like, rule in your mind, or this way of life in your mind, that you're like, okay, this is my code, they don't live by that code. They live by their own code. And unless that is, like, determined, you're always going to end up upset. So I'm saying this to try to help so that you can start prioritizing yourself, fellas. And even women, like, if you're adulting and everything, and you're doing for everybody else, it's okay for you to sometimes do something for yourself. Recently, my wife has started going, she trying to be like me, y'all. Like, cause I make sure I work out. That's just like my stress relief. I make sure I do it no matter what's going on. I'm going to work out at least 3 times a week. Stress relief, health. If she wants me to be able to lift these boxes and move furniture around the house, like, I have to do this, because this is how I get that strength, right? So I prioritize and I set that time aside and say, no matter what, I'm doing this 3 times a week. So she's starting to do that now. She found her thing. She's doing, like, Zumba and working out and stuff. And I'm happy for her that she's doing it, because she's prioritizing herself. For years, we've got 5 kids. So raising them, you get in a habit of putting yourself last. And It's not to say like, some people they be like, forget them kids. I don't be like that. It's just if you're not any good, if you don't take care of self, you won't be any good to anyone else. So you have to take care of yourself. Um, especially like if you're trying to like people who don't have families, people who don't have you're working on relationships and stuff. Like, man, you got to get your stuff together. You got to work on you. Like, yeah, relationships are cool and it's cool to be around the woman and the dating phase and everything. It's cool to be around her and to hang out and everything. But if it's preventing you from handling your business, then you need to pump your brakes. Go back to the drawing board and say, look, if I really want to be with this person for the rest of my life, I got to work on me. I got to make sure I got a degree, or if it's not a degree, a business or some benefits, something to offer some security for that woman. So, she feels safe and she has a place to come to at home with the lights on and some gas on. Like she got to have something. You know what I'm saying? So, really, like we got to start not thinking that, if I do this, I'm being a bad person or I'm being a selfish person. When I say do this, I mean like handling your business, like scheduling time out to take care of yourself. Even if it's like getting a massage or whatever it may be, like you have to get to a place where you're prioritizing your needs. Um, and because like I said, if you don't do this, then you'll be no good to anybody. You can't pour from an empty cup. You'll notice that you'll just be on the edge all the time. You'll be upset. Um, and then you got to realize, like, sometimes we do for others for their approval because we don't think that we're worth it. We don't think that we're worth investing in. But I'm here to tell you, like, you're worth investing in. You're worth that time when spending money on yourself. Sometimes some of y'all haven't spent money on yourself in a long time. Like you ain't bought no new clothes, you ain't bought no new shoes, you ain't been to the movies, you ain't did nothing. It's just taking care of everybody else, and that's good, especially if you're like a person of faith and you're thinking like, man, you know I'm supposed to give and it shall be given unto me. I'm supposed to do these things, and that's great. But sometimes you have to give to yourself, right? You have to give to yourself. I give an example. Lately, uh, work has been less than exciting, so to say. And I find like some days I log off. I can't say come home because I work from home, right? I log off and I'll be like, just not really in the best of moods, I should say. So I found out like I'm like a working machine. And the reason I'm like that, I blame my mama because when I was growing up, there was no summer vacation. Like all the other kids had summer vacation. My mama was putting me in some type of camp to learn, like science camp, engineering camp. I flew planes. Like I've done a lot of stuff. My mom wanted me to get so much exposure to the point where it was like she would tell me like, you don't have time to just chill. Like, are you gonna run with the chickens or fly with the eagles? Like, what you gonna do? And she ingrained that in me to the point where sometimes I feel like it's wrong for me to just not work. That might sound weird to some of y'all, but I feel like it's wrong for me to not work. Like I have to be working on something, improving something. And I notice when you get to a place in life where you're unhappy with something, you have to shift gears and enjoy things in life. You can't just keep working. You can't just say, well, I don't like this. I'm gonna work hard over here so I can get out of this. That's what it was. Like, all right, well, I don't really like this situation, so I'm gonna grind over here. But sometimes we have to just enjoy the little things in life. Like, so especially when it came to like entertainment for me, I'm like, no, I could be doing something. I could be like praying more, reading my Bible, working on my business. I could be doing this, doing that. But there's certain times and seasons in your life where you have to just prioritize resting. You have to prioritize resting and enjoying the little things in life. So some things I started doing was like after work, um, I would walk around my neighborhood, enjoy like, the nature. I sit outside on the porch or the patio where it's quiet at night. I take the trash out and then after that I just chill out there. My kids probably didn't know what I was doing, but I just be outside. It's a little too cold for that now. But some other things I started doing was like, my kids, like I bought a PlayStation 5 during the pandemic, and my kids pretty much took that over. I told them I bought it for me. And kids, like my son has the PlayStation 4 up in his room. He don't want to play it. I'm like, but bro, every game you play literally has like terrible graphics, like Minecraft. What's the other one he plays? Roblox, and it's another one. It's another one. I can't think of them right now, but they all just got bad graphics. So I'm like, you don't need to be playing those games in 4K. You could play them games in your room. But because I'm the dad and I'm like, I'll just let them play the game, I will find myself just like diverting back to just working on something, which isn't good. I should be enjoying some things, you work all these hours. I should be enjoying some things. So I recently just started kicking them off. I give them game time. Like I set a little timer, and then like after the timer's up, you're done, bro. Daddy's time. Um, just to start enjoying some things. The other day I went out. I was meeting up with one of my buddies, and because he was gonna, I had some shoes he wanted. Gave him, he ended up buying them. But we met up at the shoe pool, and I'm like, man, and it was only for an hour. So like that time, it helps, like with you prioritizing yourself and just thinking of little things you could do. Sometimes I tell you this, like sometimes we in our minds we think it has to be like a certain way. We like, man, if I can't hang out for like 2 hours, I mean 30 minutes, that ain't enough. Or like going to the gym, like, man, I can only do 45 minutes. There's a lot you can do in 45 minutes. Like sometimes we get caught up in what we were able to do when we had less responsibilities. And because we can't do it that same way, we like, man, I don't even want to do it. But you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to prioritize um, doing something that you enjoy. Something that you enjoy. So, like, so you can refill that cup and be some good to other people, right? But let's talk about this though as well. Like a lot of times people don't invest in self because of like past traumas. Like it's hard for you to invest in yourself because you feel broken. And you're looking to deposit in other people so that they can fill you up. They can put you together. And I'm gonna say this. I feel for you because it's a very tough spot to be in. But I'm gonna tell you this. Only God can do that. Only God can mend those broken pieces and put you back together. If you're putting faith in a relationship, faith in a person, to do those types of things, you'll just be jumping from one relationship to another because people aren't perfect. They're going to give you the best version of themselves on their best day. On their worst day, you're going to feel like, man, they're not fulfilling my need. And you're pulling from them to fill something in your life that's not pretty much their job to do. Right? We're responsible for our own happiness. You might hear in TV shows and stuff like, "Oh, you make me happy." Look, being married over 18 years, I'm gonna tell you something. People aren't always gonna make you happy. They're not. And love is a choice. You choose to love the person that you're with, and it's an action. It's not just something that you say. You choose, and when you choose to love that person, you display it at even the toughest time. But in new relationships, that's something that's learned. That's not something that's just you do by default. You learn how to love people through those tough times. And if you're looking for someone to fill those gaps that you're missing in your life, to mend those broken pieces up, and this person they don't know everything, right? They're not mind readers, and also they're not psychologists. They're not qualified or certified to deal with all of that. And think about this too. Some of those people have their own things they're working with as well. And if you both go into a relationship with this mentality, like this person gonna make me happy, and this person gonna make me happy, and what you want from them doesn't make them happy, then they're gonna eventually stop doing some of that stuff because it's draining for them to make you happy. And that might sound messed up, it might sound weird, but it's the truth. So that's why it's important that we don't put our faith in people for our happiness. That's why it's important to prioritize yourself and get self together, because once you do that, when they're not able to give you the things, or as some people say, like love you in your love language, you have enough love within to the point where you don't feel like your world is about to fall apart. You got enough love within to just say, you know what, maybe they're having a bad day, and you have understanding. But when you are not prioritizing yourself for the sake of someone being able to love you the way that you want them to love you, then that puts you in a bad place. Because people have bad days, people don't get it right. I know I've had some bad days and I ain't get it right sometimes. And it doesn't say that I don't love my wife at all in those moments. It just says I'm human, right? So I just say that to say, like, you really have to focus on yourself so that you don't fall victim of that. And some of you already have. I know people who have. I know early on in my relationship, I had a perception of what I wanted marriage to look like, and it was to fulfill needs that I had. And I realized that there were certain things within me that I needed to fix, um, because that's why I was disappointed when I wasn't getting what I was kind of like looking for. But all in all, man, you got to go hard for yourself. You have to go hard if you're looking for someone to save you. Switching gears, if you're looking for someone to save you, um, you're gonna be waiting for a long time, and you might drown in the process. Just telling the truth. You have to get to a point where you have to equip yourself with the tools to be able to withstand whatever weather is coming your way, and not look for other people to do that for you. So it's getting away from that dependency and saying, look, if this person weren't around, how would I be able to take care of myself? And it's not, I don't want people to take this out of context, because we have a lot of people when it comes to relationships right now. I know I've heard a lot about it where um, some of the people are saying, well, I don't need you. I can do for me. It's not to have that mentality. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people who don't want to do nothing. Like they just I want to get with this person so they can help me with this. And I'm not just talking about women trying to get with men for money. I'm talking about dudes. So I've seen dudes say, well, I need somebody to help me build. What? No, you don't. Help you build. Like anything like a woman does should be an added bonus in the equation. She shouldn't be part of digging the foundation. Like you should at least have the foundation. You should have a roof. You should have some walls. I mean, women come in and just paint the place, make it look better. But you should have a foundation as men. But a lot of times, a lot of the men, they don't, and I don't want to get this into like a man versus women thing, but it's just from my observation, and I have counseled people before. A lot of them just, you know, some of y'all lack direction. Um, and in a lot of cases, it's not your fault. But subscribing to the mentality that a woman needs to help you be a man is the wrong mentality to have. It's the wrong mentality to have. Um, and some of us as men, um, we need to drop our pride and learn how to learn from other men. I know a lot of men have a problem with wanting to be coached or talked to by other men. Um, and that's a problem because in my life, man, I've got a lot of mentors. I've got a lot. I've got some at work, a VP at work, a director at work, a man was she was a manager. She spent a lot of time in management. So that's three, four actually, two managers, a director, and a VP. If you're looking at how to get mentors and everything in a corporate environment, I can help you with that. 'Cause, I mean, that's something I've been doing for a long time. Um, Maybe that's a whole nother topic. And then spiritually, I've got about three. And then I got a therapist. Like I talk to people because we don't know everything. And some of us, our foundations are so shot that you need some assistance in order to be the best version of you and to get through this life and to be successful. But the biggest thing that's going to hold you back is thinking, I got this. I don't need nobody. Everybody needs somebody. And another thing that'll hold you back is pride, thinking like, I should be further than this person. I'm not listening to them. I listen to everybody. I remember when I was working a job. Um, I just say I was working a job at the light company in Detroit. I was in for those of you who are familiar with Detroit, I worked in Detroit, I worked in Highland Park, I worked on the east side. And I did that for about 2, 3 years. And I would at times run into the less fortunate, like homeless people, right? And I would talk to them. Like I'm outside of like a Coney Island or Lou's Deli or something that might be aging myself with some of these places I've been at. Um, but I'd be out there, they ask for money, and I talk to them like, hey man, you know what? You know, how's everything going? You know, you need something to eat, you know? And I'm not trying to tell everybody, let everybody know what I was doing as far as like, boasting as far as like helping people or anything. The Bible says don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So I'm not trying to get into all of that. But I would talk to these people and they would talk to me and they tell me like, hey, I did this and I did this and I wasn't always homeless and then boom, 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 this happened because of this. I'm not discounting this person's wisdom because they're on the street, their clothes are dirty, and they don't have anything. They learned a lesson and they're in the process of kind of like reaping the consequences of their actions. But if I can take something that they've learned and apply it to my life, it's going to better me. So when it comes to like prioritizing self and making ourselves better, it's important that we don't just limit the information that we get to like these billionaires and millionaires that we see online. Like, oh, I'm only listening to them because they got the money. Well, they weren't always there. It's levels to it. And they had a journey and they had a growth journey to get there. And there are many people around you right now who are on their growth journey to get there. And if you discount the information they have now, you might not have access to them one day to get everything else. And you might be in their life right now. Like God might have placed you in their life so that you could learn, so that you could grow with them. But the minute you say, well, I want to listen to this person because of this, or they offended me, but they trying to push me and I don't, then what ends up happening is you cut that tie and now this person is doing this and you still here because you haven't dealt with that pride. So, man, we got to do better with that, man. We can't be looking at people like, man, just all prideful and full of envy and jealousy and resentment because someone's trying to uh, help you, right? Anyway, I think that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about another time. But at the end of the day, make sure that you are prioritizing you. You're worth it. Go hard for yourself. Don't go too hard on yourself, but go hard for yourself. If you've been thinking about getting into some classes to better yourself, if you've been thinking about getting certifications to better yourself, if you've been thinking about spending that money on something that you always wanted to do, but it's always something coming up with like your kids or something, you like, man, and they grown. I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about you got grown kids or something, or If you're like always like if you're the teen in the house or something and you're always looking out for your siblings, go ahead, do something for yourself sometimes. You gotta make yourself happy because going through this life, you're gonna go through some ups and downs, twists and turns, highs and lows. And when you're at your lows, you need something to, as they say, give me a pick me up. You gotta do something to make yourself uh, feel better about everything. Like enjoy the fruits of your labor at some point. So yeah, go hard for yourself. You're worth it. God sees that you're worth it. Invest in yourself. Um, and don't put your faith in people to bring you happiness. All right. This is the breaking point. If you this blessed you or helped you, um, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, so you can hear more videos. Share with somebody who's going through this right now, where you just see them like, man, you really need to do something for yourself. Maybe hearing it from you isn't enough. They need to hear it from somebody else. All right. I'll see you next time.